I guess it's you know, bumps out. But there was this lady and this man, and they were married, and the lady died and she went to heaven. So when she got to heaven, St. Peter was at the door, and he met at the pearly gates and met her, and he told her, she tells him, so what do I have to do to get into heaven? And he tells her, you have to spell a word. And then she says, well, okay, well, what word do I spell? And then he says, you have to spell love. And then she says, oh. She says, L-O-V-E. He says, come on in, he tells her. So then later on, in years, not heaven years, but earth years, her husband passed away. So she, right before that, but Peter told her, I need to go take care of something. Would you mind watching the gate, you know, for me? And she said, oh, sure, go ahead. So she's watching the gate, and lo and behold, here comes her husband to the gate. And then she says, oh, she says, so what happened? And then he said, well, when you died, he says, I was really depressed, and I was going to the doctor and stuff, and I hooked up with a nurse. And you remember that real pretty blonde that used to work at the doctor's office? Oh, yeah. He says, well, we hooked up, and we got married, and then years later, we won the lottery, he says, and we traveled, and we bought vehicles, we bought homes, we had vacation homes in different places. And she goes, oh. She says, okay, and then he tells her, so he says, what do I have to do to get into heaven? And she says, oh, you just have to spell a word. And then he says, okay, so what word is that? And she says, Czechoslovakia. Anyway, so like Doris says, I'm 64 years old, and I've throughout the years I've seen 64 springs, 64 falls, 64 summers, and soon to be 64 winters. So anyway, so the thing is our lives are a lot like the seasons. We have some good times, we have some bad times. It rains, it snows, and that's just the way our life is. But haven't you noticed that whenever there's a really, really big storm, like a hurricane, they all have women's names? I mean, why would they all have women's names? And I'm sure you guys know some women that it would really be fitting to name a hurricane after them, right? Like last night or night before, I went to go see my mom, and she was not in a very good mood. My mom has Alzheimer's, and she's in the home. So she was just furious, and I thought to myself, yeah, that hurricane would have been good in her name. Hurricane Zenaida. That would have been her name. Her hurricane. But you know, we name hurricanes after women. You never really hear much of men. I think there was a Hurricane Andrew or something like that, but I think everybody remembers Hurricane Katrina. So anyway, I think a lot of times in our lives, mostly as women, because we're so emotional, we can turn a little stuff that happens into our lives, we can turn it into a hurricane. Like Hurricane Bad Hair Day, or Hurricane Road Rage, or maybe you have Hurricane My Washer Broke. You know, we can turn a little something into a hurricane. It's not really a hurricane. The hurricanes that you can name as a hurricane is stuff like that hurricane, like hurricane financial disaster, or maybe you have a hurricane and the hurricane is hurricane cancer. Or maybe your hurricane is hurricane adultery. Or maybe your hurricane is hurricane rebellious children. And maybe your hurricane is hurricane death of a family member. And these are the winters in our lives. And we're all going to go through them. We're not just going to go through one storm. We're not just going to go through one winter. We're not just going to go through one summer, one spring, one fall. We're going to have many, many storms. Because Jesus clearly told us, he says, in this world, you will have, trials and tribulations. He warned us, he told us. So it's not like it's not like it's not going to happen, because it is. So of all the storms that I've mentioned, we weathered them in our lives. In the 64 years that I've been alive, and Gramps and I have been married 47. We've gone through all those hurricanes in our lives at one time or another. And I'm sure there's going to be other hurricanes that we face. But I can't really tell you this one hurricane was the darkest, because when you're going through that hurricane, that's the darkest for you at the moment.
Amen.
But, and God is so good, he'll see you through it. And we do come out with, learning something. There is a purpose for it, and we will come out. And it's just like in winter, you see a tree that's dead, and you think, on the outside it's dead, but the roots are still alive underground.
Amen.
So when the winds come and blow, and you see, and it beats on the tree and stuff, well, the roots are still alive.
Amen.
There's still life in that tree. So if somebody has the Bible, could you read Matthew 8, 23 through 27 for me? Matthew 8.
His disciples followed him, and suddenly a great triumph rose on the sea. So the boat was covered with the waves, but he was asleep. Then his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we are perishing." But he said to them, "Why are you fearful, O you of little faith?" Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. So the men marveled, saying, "Who can this be, that even the winds and the sea obey him?"
So you see, even the disciples were in a storm, and the thing is, Jesus was in the boat with them. So we see that, and then when you read in the Bible, you'll also see like Jonah, the storm that Jonah was in. It's because he was running away from God, and God was trying to get his attention. So there was nobody that died in the ship. Nobody's lives were lost, and God was dealing with Jonah. So sometimes we suffer the consequences of somebody else's sin. We suffer the consequences when somebody else sins against God. And that doesn't, but that's, I'm not making excuses for it, but sometimes we're the ones that do it, and sometimes we're the ones that receive it. You see, you also see, like Noah. Noah's storm was a complete disaster. The only one that was alive, that was left, was him and his family. So you kind of wonder what Noah was thinking. There had to have been billions of people or millions of people on the earth, and the only ones that survived was Noah and his family. So I'm sure that the thought crossed his mind was like, are we going to perish also? But God saved them. Their lives weren't lost. And your life won't be lost during your storms either. And then like Job lost everything. Job lost finances, Job lost family members, and his wife even told him to curse God and die. So I don't know if I'd like somebody like that in my corner, but anyway, she did tell him. But God brought them through, God brought them through their storms. So I'm sure that night when the disciples were on the Sea of Galilee, I'm sure there was other boats that were out in this tempest, that were out in this hurricane. But the difference was that Jesus was in their boat. So whenever you guys are going through stuff, whenever there's a storm in your family, whenever there's a storm you personally, Jesus is in your boat. There's life. There's life after adultery. You can mend your marriage through God. God will mend your marriage and He'll make it stronger than before. There's life after cancer. Grant's had cancer. Grant's had an open heart surgery. And there's life after God. God will take care of you. He's there with you. He says He will never, forsake you, nor leave you, nor forsake you. And it's a promise of God, guys. It's a promise that we need to hold on to. And sometimes, it's sad that maybe the marriage does break up, but you're still not alone. There's still, God is still with you. I can't tell you that, like I said earlier, that you're only going to have one winter or one spring or one summer and one fall. I'm sad, I hate to say it, but there's going to be many hurts and there's going to be many tears. But like I said, Jesus is in your boat. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer and say that, all my life has just been, hurricanes and trials. We've seen good times. We have 13 grandkids. We're expecting our 9th great grandchild. We've had celebrations as far as Christmas. We've had birthdays. We've had graduations, and God balances it all. Balances it all up. He's not going to slam you with storm after storm after storm. It's life. You're gonna live through it. And you know what happens when there's a hurricane, and the weather people start telling you, and they start preparing you, and you see people boarding up their homes, and they tell you to move up to higher ground. And in the same way, that's what we're supposed to do. We need to move up to higher ground so that we can weather those storms. Psalms 91, 1 through 2. With that scripture, guys, and learn how to spell Czechoslovakia.
So your homework is
Czechoslovakia.
I bet some of you have already